Hello, folks. Today's episode is not your average stroll down a Whidbey Island beach with a latte and a Labrador. We are going to go global, flamenco global. Italy meets island meets a guitar that might just seduce you, kind of global. Today's audacious islander is a world-renowned virtuoso. Our guest is the one and only Andre Feriante, guitar maestro and expert crossover artist. Poet of strings, a man who I'm convinced might actually have a PhD in soulfulness. He's performed at Carnegie Hall, he's played in castles and cathedrals, and now, bless us all, he's right here on Whidbey Island, being casually audacious with his artistry like it's no big deal. But it is a big deal, because Andre doesn't just play guitar, he communicates with it, like intimately. If his guitar were a person, I'd be jealous. I must say something about my love of acoustic guitar, especially Spanish music. It's not just music, it's a sensory event. There's just something about acoustic Spanish guitar that gets me every time. It's warm, expressive, and somehow manages to be both soothing and deeply emotional. I love how the rhythms feel alive, like a conversation without words. It doesn't need anything extra, just the sound of those strings, and suddenly I'm transported, calmer, more focused, maybe even a little more romantic about life. It's the kind of music that settles into your bones in the best way. I may or may not tear up every time I listen. So grab your coffee, your wine, or whatever you sip while pretending to be culturally enlightened, because you're about to meet a man who turns nylon strings into magic. This is Local Whidbey with Magsy, and this is Andre Feriante. Hi, Andre. Thanks for coming today.
Of course.
So tell the listener where we're at.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
We're at a beautiful little black box theater called the Outcast Theater, and it's in the fairgrounds in Langley.
Okay. Yeah, we were going to meet at the Commons, but I think this is a perfect venue for this.
A little more quiet.
For sure. Yeah, a little bit more quiet. Okay, so I hope you like that introduction.
Well, that was great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you've had an incredible career from what, in my research, it seems like you've had an incredible career, and I hope you define it that way as well. Can you take the listener back to your early days in guitar? Like, what drew you to it first?
Yeah, so I grew up in Italy, and when I was 13 years old, I was going to the Overseas School of Rome, and one day, the teacher invited the class to an assembly concert, and it was a flamenco concert. And I had never heard flamenco guitar before, and that was a big day in my life. I didn't know that music would affect me the way it did, but it started my journey into playing the guitar and playing flamenco classical music, classical guitar music.
So as a child, that's what you played first, was flamenco?
Flamenco and classical. I started a little bit with flamenco for like a year, and then I found a classical guitar teacher.
So as you grew up, what would you say was your biggest musical influences?
Well, even back then, I started listening to Andre Feriante, the great Spanish master, and Julian Bream, and all those great guitar players from that era, and then also the great flamenco player, Paco de Lucia. Those were great influences. And then when I was 21, I had the privilege of actually going to Spain and studying with Andre Segovia in a master class in Madrid.
Wow.
So those are my musical idols,
So when you're studying classical and flamenco styles, how did those traditions shape your approach to music moving forward?
Well, I mean, in the early days, in the first 10 years of my career, I had pretty much focused on classical and had some amazing teachers. I had a teacher from Bogota, Colombia that I went and studied with down in Bogota, and he was also in Rome. And in my 20s, I was in that world, the classical guitar world, very purist guitar, classical thing,
Yeah.
But then when I was about 30, I went through life change, got a divorce, and I was living in a different city. And I kind of had a shift in my life in the sense that I started kind of coming to my own emotionally, and kind of finding myself creatively. And all of a sudden, I started creating. I started writing poetry, writing new songs for the guitar, painting, and it was kind of basically shedding beliefs that had been, not, I don't want to say imposed upon me, because that's, my upbringing was great, but at the same time, I was basically, like I said, coming into my own and shedding beliefs that didn't belong to me,
Right.
And then also, at that point, I was shifting to playing music in a way that was about humanity and love, and trying to understand what we're doing here, as opposed to just playing beautiful classical songs that I knew, that I respected,
Right.
and it just being somebody who plays a recital.
Right.
So there's a deeper undercurrent of seeking for beauty and knowledge under the music. And even at that point, when I was 30, I probably couldn't have articulated it like I just did now, but I was still in a place of seeking and trying to find something deeper in the music.
Right.
And to answer your question, the flamenco and the classical, those together were just actually flavors of the songs that kind of started my fusion. Now I'm a fusion artist, so
that shaped your approach.
I blend a lot of styles together.
Okay, all right. So has there ever been a specific performance or a moment when you knew music would be your life's work? And I understand when you were little, but just, how you grow up and maybe your family wants you to do a certain thing. Like I was told, don't be a writer. You won't make any money. You need to do this over here because you tested so great for it. So what was your parents like? And my rest of my life, I'm just going to play the guitar, make a living out of it.
Well, okay, I have a little bit to say on that, but I'll try to be brief. But
go ahead.
Some kind of beautiful moments. Before I even played, I was 11 years old, and I was at a summer camp. Okay. And I was just with like one friend from the camp, and we were standing by a lake and just doing kid stuff. And my friend asked, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" We were talking about that. Yeah. And I didn't even think about it. I just said, I think I'll be a guitar player. But at that point, I didn't play the guitar or even really want to play the guitar. I just kind of said that. So that was
right.
Interesting.
Throw it out there.
Yeah.
See if it's stuck.
And then when I was 16, at that point, I was really steeped in the guitar. I was practicing 3 hours a day, and I was studying with a great teacher. And I was very much in the classical guitar world in Rome, with going to concerts and I had a moment one time when everybody was asleep in the house. It was like midnight, watching an old movie, and there was a guy in the scene in this movie, a Brazilian movie, sitting on a stool in an elegant nightclub, playing guitar for the customers, and I got chills, and I felt like that's me sitting on that stool right there.
You could see yourself.
I felt it, yeah. So that was that moment. Fast forward about 15, 16 years, I sat on a stool at an elegant nightclub in Seattle for 12 and a half years, 5 nights a week, playing guitar. So when I was 16, I saw myself.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I believe in that for sure.
I also had a moment when I was around that same age where I felt like I wasn't going to be able to choose what I was going to do. I felt like music was what I'm going to do. A lot of my friends were thinking about this college, that, whatever.
Right.
And I felt like, well, I think this is what I'm going to do,
Wow. So you've played Carnegie Hall, right?
Yeah.
And castles in Europe. So do you have any favorite venues or memorable things that have at some of the venues you've played at around the world?
I really like some of the smaller, like one of the most beautiful, memorable settings was, I used to play these concerts in the Caribbean, in St. Martin. And I played a home concert at this house up on a hill above the water. And it was felt like something out of the 40s. It was just like all these archways and kind of wind blowing through and the Caribbean breeze and just sitting and playing for 20 people in a beautiful, quiet setting with the elements. What is the kind of thing that's a little more connected to the audience that way, things like that. The bigger shows are great and they're wonderful, but you are detached from people.
You are. Yeah, you probably just enjoy the thunderous applause, but then after that, you probably do feel disconnected. Never thought of it.
A little bit, and that's the element. That's the beautiful thing of the stage too, is that you're free from distractions because you're up there and there's the distance.
So here's the big question: you've been all over the world. Why did you decide on Whidbey Island?
Well, it's kind of a simple story. I was dating a woman who wanted to move here, and almost I think 9 years ago now, something like that. Yeah, and I'd been in Seattle for 28 years, and I thought, why not? It'd be a nice change, And that relationship didn't work out, but it's been a great place. It's been great to just connect with all the artists and the beauty of the nature here. So my philosophy, not my inspiration, I guess, has shifted a little bit. I used to be in my art inspired by people, which I still am. But now that I'm here, I'm equally inspired by nature.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how Whidbey Island contributed to your creative process.
Yeah, just the sweetness of the little animals, the bunnies, and just being so close to that
nature,
that innocence, compared to when you're younger. When you're younger, a lot of artists kind of hang on to the angst, and I can't write unless there's some pain,
and you're like, but a bunny.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be good times and bad times,
right?
But as you get a little older, you can tap into what that's in your being from where you've been. So you don't have to experience it again.
Right.
But it's there.
Right. So just wondering, do you have anything that you enjoy doing besides music?
Well,
I know poetry.
Most of what I do is art, artistic pursuits. I've gotten into photography and also writing poetry. I write lyrics for songs and do some singing. But I don't do this so much anymore. But I used to love going to old art theaters, art movies, foreign films, that type of thing. It's harder and harder to kind of find those old places now.
Yeah.
Here, just taking walks in some of the most beautiful places,
the views.
Yeah.
So, being a guitarist, how do you come up with or build that relation between emotion and the music that you play?
Well, I don't really think about that. I think about it as just speaking.
Okay.
So, if I'm being just a person, if I'm being sincere, that's all I worry about. I just be honest. And the same thing comes through in the music. Just let whatever you're feeling translate. So I'm not really a showy artist. There are artists that are theatrical and they put on a show,
Well, I love Spanish acoustic music, guitar music, and you can always tell when the music is going towards angry and going towards love. You can really tell the different emotional vibes in that kind of music.
Yeah. Just kind of let it happen naturally. I guess, there is obviously, if you're in a play or something, or you're part of a production, you still have to kind of tap into something that's of yourself.
Right.
But at the same time, like if it's a dance group or something, there's an effect of trying to get the audience riled up. I don't ever try to get the audience one way or another. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. If it happens, it happens. It's just based on me being kind of sincere with the moment when I play.
Okay, so obviously playing the music you play on your guitars and all the other instruments, which we can talk about that because you play a lot of instruments. Have you incorporated poetry? Because I know you write poetry.
Yeah.
And so, and that's one of the things that you've started putting more effort into. What, during COVID, you started putting more effort into poetry?
I've written poetry for, I guess, 30 years now. But during COVID, with all that downtime, I decided to put out an official book of poems.
Yeah.
So I focused on it in the sense of compiling older poems, bringing in some newer poems, and put out a book called Slender Gods.
Slender Gods.
And it's
on Amazon.
Yeah, and it's I guess at this point it's a kind of a collection of many years of my poems, and I still write a lot. I've written a few poems recently for birthdays for friends. I wrote one yesterday for a friend's 50th birthday.
Yeah.
And they're almost like portraits in poetry, basically.
So writing music and writing poetry, does it come from the same creative place, or is it different?
No, I would say it comes from the same place. Yeah. With music, I do a lot of improvising. Mm-hmm. And like I was writing this poem for my friend a couple of days ago, and I was thinking about it. I didn't have a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I actually sat down and started writing that the idea and the concept kind of came to me.
Right.
And then you're just waiting for some bookend things to happen, things to tie in that work. And hopefully that stuff comes to you while you're in the process, But yes, I think it all comes from the same place for me. Yeah. It's just don't think too much and just be in the moment and let little tidbits of magic happen, hopefully,
So a little complicated question here, but do you lean towards certain themes like love, solitude, beauty? Some poets have certain things that they consistently write about, maybe angst or things that happen to people mentally. Some of the things that I read, someone that's very angsty. But do you write all forms, or are you specifically to something?
I definitely more universal concepts. Mm-hmm. I don't go into like anything political or social that much. I definitely the wheel of love, the different faces of love for sure.
Yeah.
And then also a lot of poems about the mystery of life and what we're doing here.
So I think you need to have a poetry class, and let me tell you why. So when I was in high school, I took college writing, and our teacher would enter our writing into contests, and I won a lot. But then when it came to poetry, and even to this day, I can write it, but it's sing-songy. When I read yours, it's like a conversation, and I need to learn how to do that because it's almost in my head that I have to be rhymey and sing-songy. So it's just like, how do you do that? How do you do it like a conversation, but it still sounds like a poem?
I could write in Italian because I speak Italian, but and when you're writing in Italian, you tend to rhyme because there's so many vowels, Yeah, but I actually prefer to write in English at this point in my life, and I don't like to rhyme so much. Sometimes I do, but maybe just a little bit at the very end, maybe.
Right.
But there are also internal rhyming that can happen here and there, with words that from one line to the next, that have some rhyming happening inside the word. It's a little more subtle, and that kind of thing just happens when you're writing, and then you realize, okay, those two words, whatever they might be, happen to rhyme a little bit. So you think, well, should I continue this pattern? But more than that, I still just go with the meaning of the poem as opposed to getting a little bit of rhyming going on,
Like I said, I naturally do it. I don't mean to do it, but it just comes out that way. I was looking at a prompt one time, and they wanted you to write about, when was the last time you danced? Well, the last time I had danced at that point was at my son's wedding. So it was about him. And then, of course, I had to frame it and give it to him because I'm a mom. But anyway, and it was good. I liked it. But then when I go back and read it, I'm like, wow, was that rhymey?
Yeah, I think it depends on the actual tone and subject. Because if you're writing about something that's kind of fun and happy and cute. Rhyming can be good, or if it has a vibe of like being funny. Rhyming can also,
limerick right, yeah.
Can be nice, Yeah.
Let's pause for a moment and take time for information about sponsoring Local Whidbey Podcast. Season 1 launched with a bang. I started with just over 2,000 unique listeners in my very first month, and it just kept growing. Over the course of the season, more than 9,000 people tuned in to hear real conversations with artists, entrepreneurs, farmers, musicians, nonprofit leaders, and everyday locals doing extraordinary things. And since the last week in January 2025, the website withmagsy.com pages have been opened more than 226,000 times. And get this, even during our summer hiatus, the podcast continued to draw new ears. And get this, even during our summer hiatus, the podcast continued to draw new ears. We averaged over 1,500 unique listeners each month without releasing a single new episode. I guess once a Whidbey Island fan, always a Whidbey Island fan. So now with season 2 in full swing, I've got one more exciting update. I'm officially opening the podcast up to sponsorships. If you're a local business or creative venture looking to connect with an audience that already loves Whidbey Island as much as you do, there's a shiny new sponsorship page on withmagsy.com. You'll find it under the podcast tab. Go take a peek. I must confess, I'm not a fan of loads of ads that go on forever in podcasts. So as not to be a hypocrite, I'm looking for businesses who want to get a message out that is helpful and interesting with my guidance and works well with this podcast. After much thought and being a communication strategist for over 25 years, I'm looking for sponsors who help the community thrive and can give me an ad content that is highly trackable because it strikes a chord or is highly helpful. Whether you've listened from the start or you're just now discovering this island storytelling series, I'm so glad you're here. If you're interested and want to have a chat, again, check out sponsorships under the podcast tab at withmagsy.com. Now, let's get back to the interview. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit and talk about Whidbey Island. Do you have a favorite hidden gem where you like to go? Maybe that inspires you?
I have a couple places I go just to kind of sit and meditate, just like, in Langley, just down the water down below Langley, not the marina, but just the waterfront.
Yeah.
Since it's my neighborhood, basically. But I also go over to the Freeland Marina, and so it's a little more rustic, but also just very, very beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's a walk you can take that's behind.
I haven't been to that one. I'll need to go now that you mentioned that.
Yeah, the Freeland Hall. There's just a beautiful little walk taken. So lots of beautiful trees along the water there. Then I also go. It sounds kind of funny, but there's down in Langley, Al Anderson Road at the end. There's an old cemetery, and it's very magical. And it's surrounded by forest. And
in Freeland or here? Here. Okay.
Yeah. And it's a very beautiful, peaceful place.
Yeah, I'm someone who likes to walk through cemeteries as well.
Yeah.
I like to read headstones.
Yeah.
And in the Northeast, where the United States is so very old, where it started, you can really figure out the history of what went on there by headstones, literally.
Yeah.
And then if you ever go in the South Coast, they've got ghost cemetery tours. And in New Orleans. So, yeah, there's a lot you can learn from a cemetery besides it being peaceful.
Yeah, definitely.
So here's a question for you. If you weren't a musician, have you ever thought about what you would be? Have you any alternative things you've thought about?
I haven't really thought about that too much,
That's good. You don't have any regrets then.
Yeah, I do healing music. I do these sound baths, and there's an element of that with it that helps people, and I guess maybe some sort of counseling or something like that. Maybe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they'd go hand in hand.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. What advice would you give to people? Let me think about this question because I really would like to know the answer to this for someone that's creative. I am a left and right brain person, if you believe in that. I do. and I'm like even left and even right. So I have a creative side, but I have a really hard time dropping the not creative side in order to do creative. And the reason is because I don't feel productive. So the question is, what advice would you give someone who wants to live a creative life but doesn't know where to begin or how to make it consistent?
Well, the first thing that you have to have is you have to have a passion for something. And if you're looking for that, then you have to experience different things that you might be interested in and see what moves you. But don't jump into anything, and it's almost like a marriage, basically,
Yeah.
don't jump into anything if you don't love it.
Right.
It doesn't really speak to you. So that would be the first thing. But then the other side of it is if you can find something to do with your life and work in the field that you love, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
If you can find that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you don't ever have to stop, no matter how old a person gets. You can continue to do it. You'll find ways to do it. Yeah. My mother's an artist and a musician, and she's never had any issues with being consistent in that world at all, even to this day, because she's 83. She still does things, whether it's painting or contributing to playing the piano at an independent living facility. She finds a way to make her heart happy.
Right.
With those things.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay, so let's talk about some of your other creative endeavors. So we know that before we hit the rapid fire questions, first of all, you play more than just the guitar. And I follow you on Instagram, so I know you have all different kinds of instruments. Let's talk about those, whatever you want to say about them, because all of it will be informative to me. And then the very last questions is you have other creative interests besides playing at all the venues around Whidbey Island. And I'd like to hear about those as well.
Yeah. So I present a show besides just the Spanish guitar show. I present a show called String Stories. Mm-hmm. And it's mainly in theaters or art centers, and because it's a little bit of a production, I bring out 10 to 12 instruments from different countries. So the concept is stringed instruments from around the world that are related to the guitar. And this is a production that kind of evolved. It wasn't like I set out to do this. Mm-hmm. About, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago now. Up until that time, I was just playing Spanish guitar. That was my career, And the ukulele was becoming pretty popular back then. A lot of people were starting to play the ukulele, as they call it. Yeah. So I thought, why not get into that? And I really got into the ukulele. I had this guy from Hawaii that I met offered to make me an instrument, and he ended up making several. And I did a CD called Novella Ukulele Mosaic, and it's like a CD of ukulele songs, But then slowly I started getting into other stringed instruments. A friend of mine knew these guys who make harp guitars, and so I had them make me a harp guitar. And then I was on my way to play a tour in California, and I got an email from this guy in Southern Oregon who makes African-style banjos that are very they're banjos, but they have nylon or gut strings, and they're a little softer sound. Mm-hmm. He said, would you like to borrow a banjo for your tour, And wow. So long story short, I started kind of collecting all these different instruments, and slowly I started getting into Middle Eastern instruments, and that's the root of the guitar is from the Middle East, basically. So there's so many different guitar type or stringed instruments throughout the Middle East. And then also early music instruments like the different lutes and Baroque guitar. And so I have this collection now of lots of different types of stringed instruments, and I present this show called String Stories. And
Baroque guitar, I've never seen anything like that.
The Baroque guitar?
Yes.
Oh, the ornate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that one's from Italy. But the traditional Baroque guitar is from Spain initially, and it's also has they have that similar centerpiece, the rose. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's, for me, it's a beautiful thing to bring that to a theater and play all these sounds from different countries. Also, you're introducing exotic string sounds to people that they've never heard before, maybe. A lot of people haven't. Also, visually, it's interesting for people because they're seeing something that's new and different. And as they're sitting for 2 hours in the theater, they're looking and they're saying, I wonder what that one sounds like. I want to hear that one,
Yeah.
So it's kind of a fun show. It's a little bit to set up. I try to, when I travel with it, I try to have a friend come with me and help me because it's a lot of instruments to carry in and out. And,
right. The whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of your other creative interests that are coming up or that you're planning?
Well, I have been, since I moved to Whidbey Island, I've gotten into photography, and one of the shows I had was taking photographs of classic cars, but they're not real cars; they're toy cars.
Oh, okay.
So I'll take a small die-cast classic car, and I'll take a photo of it out in nature, and I'll make it look like it's call it forced perspective, and make it look like it's
cool.
Just a car sitting on the beach or something, or I'll take it to a parking lot and I'll make it look like it's just sitting there parked with all the other cars that are actual cars,
That's interesting.
So I've done that. That show has been a couple of places. Currently, I have a show at Artworks Gallery, and it's the photographs of the historic instruments I play in string stories. I guess the other thing I've done on the island is I've presented, since I've lived here, pretty much every year except for during COVID, the Whidbey Island Guitar Festival. And it's not happening this year, but it will be back next year. And this year it's possible that we might have later in maybe early fall or something, just like what I call a day of guitar.
Okay.
But the concept behind it's a unique festival, and that it's like you have Django Fest and it's all about this style, or you have a classical guitar festival or whatever. This festival is about kind of celebrating the many voices of the guitar. So I'll have a rock guitarist, a blues guitarist, somebody who plays early music on the Renaissance guitar or something like that, the lute. So it's many different guitar styles and players. So a little bit like what I do with string stories, but at the same time bringing in people that are full-time with these instruments. So it's kind of celebrating the guitar in general. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So the day of guitar, would that just be a lot of people that would have guitars to come in and play and everyone listen? How does that work?
We would have probably, if I can put this together, I'm kind of getting over a health issue, so I haven't had the energy to do the festival this year. So, but I'm thinking if I do this, put it together, it would be 3 or 4 guitarists from the island and 3 or 4 guitarists from somewhere around the Northwest. And it would be a day of short concerts. Yeah. So it's there's a possibility that we'll do that this year,
Yeah. I love the guitar in all the different ones, and just following you on Instagram, seeing the different ones that you play and things like that. I do think they're interesting, and quite a few of them I've never heard before. So I do think it's a great idea to showcase. Like, I didn't know that guitar came from the Middle East. I didn't know that originally.
It evolved. Yeah, it evolved from there. There's a
lot of Southern people that think they invented everything.
Well, so in the Middle East, you have the instrument called the oud, and it has no frets, and it looks like a lute.
Okay.
But the lute actually was born out of from the oud. So the Moors brought the oud to southern Spain, and then they kind of reinvented the instrument in Europe and put frets on it, and you have the lute.
Right.
So it looks like, and then the lute slowly morphed into a smaller bodied guitar, but with double strings like the lute.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then eventually in like 1850, still in Spain, we have the actual guitar that kind of looks like your first Martin guitar, And in fact, Mr. Martin in Germany brought that same guitar, started the factory in New York, and put steel strings on it.
Yeah.
But it still is all started in Spain.
Wow. So one of the things we're going to do, listener, is, I always do rapid fire questions, and I definitely have some for Andre. But also I ask Andre to bring his guitar and play for the listener, aka me, to be honest. So I'm going to let him get his guitar, and we're going to get that set up, and then we're going to do some rapid fire questions. Then I'm hoping Andre will play us out. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's some rapid fire questions for you. Strings or silence?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Overall, silence.
Silence. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's surprising. I'm glad I asked. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Sunset. Favorite guitar you've ever owned?
Well, I'm lucky to have it right now. Not this one, but it's one I have at home. It's a guitar from Spain, and it's a replica of the first guitar I was telling you about from 1850.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So, one song you wish you wrote?
Well, any of the Spanish or any of the nocturnes by Chopin, or the Nocturnes by Eric Satie, any of that music is I would be happy to have penned those. That. Yeah.
So when you're composing, are you into coffee, tea, or wine?
Well, it used to be Scotch, but now it's water for now.
Bummer. Okay, Scotch. So city buzz or quiet countryside?
Well, it's kind of equal for me, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I go back and forth as well. I have to have my city buzz on at least once a month. I have to get off the island and go have city buzz. All right. What was the last thing you listened to that wasn't guitar music?
I think I was just really enjoying some Nick Drake, singer-songwriter from England, from the 60s. Just beautiful. I was just listening to that earlier
Nick
today.
Drake.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite place to play on Whidbey, or would you rather not say, make other businesses mad?
No, I mean, I do like theaters. I do like when I play shows at Wicca. I like the stage. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
One word your friends would use to describe you?
Probably depending on how well you know me. My friends would say funny, because I joke around a lot. But then people that don't know that side of me, would probably say I'm serious. You know, so it's interesting. Yeah.
It happens in my family. My boys were like, "Mom, you're not funny." I said, "Well, everyone I work with thinks I'm hilarious." They're like, "Really?" So yeah, I get that too. All right. So is there anything in your guitar case besides the guitar?
Super glue.
Super glue. Wow.
To play this kind of guitar, you have to have nails, and sometimes they break.
They break.
Yeah.
I would have never thought of that, but that's totally makes sense. Okay, so what's a meal you never get tired of?
A meal? Oh. Well, good Italian pasta, like penne bolognese.
Can you make that?
No, I can make some other pastas, but I'm not.
Okay. One thing you always take on tour besides your stringed instruments?
I like to take a journal in case I want to write something. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So, listener, Andre's going to play us out because I requested it, and he was so gracious to say yes. So, what are you going to play for us today?
Let's see. I'm going to improvise on a song of mine from my album Bohemian Boulevard. It's a Spanish kind of flamenco fusion kind of thing.
Thank you, Andre. I really enjoyed having you.
Thank you for asking me. It was
You're
great.
welcome.